All right, is it recording? Looks good?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so what we're going to try to do here, I've got LabVIEW. I've got a driver that has acquired all these numbers. These numbers need to go into a graph for us to see nicely. You know, this was acquired from the CCD on the Raman project. And the problem is it's numbers, not a graph. So we want to make a graph out of it. Now, I don't have the thing connected right now, so I'm going to take the digits that were recorded here, and I'm going to make a graphing function just using this data right here, and then I'll go and apply it once I'm connected to the actual CCD. So the way that I would do that is I'm going to go over here to File and say New VI. So once I've selected New VI, I have an untitled 2.vi that's opened. Here's the front panel. Here's the block diagram. So I'll go over here and I'll put the marching ants around. I'll select this control with the data in it, and I'll say copy. Do the Control-C keyboard copy. When I do that, then I can take it over here to this untitled front panel and paste it on the panel. And look what happened. It pasted not only the control, but the data that's in it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this at this point, and I'm going to call this that I'm saving. I'm going to call this data into graph.vi. So when I say OK, it's saved data into graph. And then to make sure that I maintain the data, I'm going to go to the Edit tab and say make current values default. When I click that, it takes these values that are in this textual control and it makes them the default values. Then I'm going to save the VI once more. That saved those values as the default values, so that now, were I to close this program and reopen it using, I don't know, say Windows Explorer, when I reopen it, it's going to open with those values in the control. Okay, so now I have a copy of values. Now let's go ahead and massage them into a graph. And the way I'm going to do that is, let's go over here and take a look at the control. Actually, right now it is a indicator, not a control. And you need to understand the difference between indicators and controls. An indicator is something that displays data. A control is something that we read data out of. Well, it's an indicator right now. So I'm going to change it by going over here and right-clicking on it. I'm going to change it to a control. Boom. Immediately, it changed to control. So now it's a control data type, and I'm going to do that one more time where I say Edit, make current values default, and then File Save. That should save those values into that control as the default values. All right. So now, let's go about the process of trying to turn this into something, put it into a graph. So the way that I would do that is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select a graph data type. Waveform chart, waveform graph. It's waveform graph that I want. I'm going to drop this waveform graph down, and then let's look at what type of data type it wants to be fed by going over here. You can see it is an indicator because you can see that data comes into it. You can tell this is a control, data comes out. But I can tell what type of data needs to come into this indicator by right-clicking on it and saying Create Constant. Create Constant. And it shows me it is looking for a 1D array of floating point values. That's what it wants. If I give this a 1D array of floating point values, it will plot them for me. And I can prove this to you by doing this. Let me go ahead and erase this. And instead of creating a constant, I'm going to say create control. Okay, so we'll go over here to control. And I'm going to go look at the, here it is. Oh, no, that is not the way we want to do that. All right. I take that back. We're going to do what we did before. Actually, no, we're going to do this. I'm going to go to the front panel, and I'm going to make an array. Okay. And then I'm going to take a numeric control, and I'm going to drop it in there. Now I have a one-dimensional array of numerics. And now I'm going to go further and set the data type to be a single precision floating point. Actually, I'm going to go with double precision floating point, double. So I'll make sure it's a double. That means, I think that's a 64-bit floating point number is what a double is. I would have to reference that to make sure. But now I'm going to put some values in these numbers. So we're going to say 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to put in this last number, I'm going to put in a 10. Okay, you notice as I'm filling these out that they highlight. These are grayed out down below. That means the length of the array just contains those values right there. And so that is what will actually be passed. Now that I've created this, I'm going to take this array and I'm going to put it to where its values feed the waveform graph. When I do that, watch what happens. Boom, there's the graph of what it is that I was trying to create. So I knew by right-clicking on this and saying create constant that it would accept a 1D array of floating point values. And then so it is polymorphic, meaning it can accept more than one type of inputs, but I knew by doing that create constant thing that it would take that and it would graph it. So I just fed it exactly what it wanted, and now here I've got a graph. Well, now let's do the same things with these values over here, which is going to be a little bit more tricky because this is a big long string. This isn't numbers in memory, it's it's string, and we're going to have to teach the computer how to read this. Why don't we go ahead and stop that by hitting the video and stop